Welcome to the Adam Rothstein Hockey Podcast. This is your podcast for all things hockey. On this podcast, we talk about past history to the modern day and what you can do to grow the sport. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. All right, let's get to the show. And welcome back to the Adam Rothstein Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. With me is my former teammate, Brandon Potter. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Adam. How you doing?
Doing great. So I wanted to pick your brain about the potential about the Capitals and about the preseason, and also get into the MLS potentially overtaking the NHL in both revenue and popularity. So up first,
All
I
right.
did want to talk about Bedsy, Connor Bedard. There was something happened between him and Mr. Andre Fleury, and 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 apparently Bedard was tripped up and on the shootout play, and it got into a very big scuffle on Twitter. You saw that?
Yeah, I actually just saw that earlier today.
I
Pretty
do.
crazy.
I think Marc Andre Fleury is a classy guy. He's not a bad person, and then I think he just sort of love tapped him. I really don't. I think everyone was just making more of a big deal out of this than it needed to be. And Bedard just lost the handle on a shootout too, and it just shows that yes, he was, he is just still a kid, and he's still going to need some time to develop too, and I don't necessarily think that the Blackhawks are going to get into the playoffs this upcoming season, but I do think Bedard's going to have a great start to the regular season. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the play and I didn't really think he had a chance to score. I saw he was trying to go between the legs and Fleury just stuck his stick out. He definitely pulled and yanked and tripped him up, but I think it was more like Fleury being Fleury. He's a jokester. He likes to have fun, and it's preseason, so like, what's really going to happen? Nothing really. So, I mean, I saw it, and it's kind of, and then he gave him a tap, like on the back, or like on the like the give him a tap on the ass or something, like a love tap, like, hey, welcome to the league, kid, or something like that. But it wasn't anything malicious. So people are gonna like blow up about it because he's young and Fleury's a veteran, and it's two big names, but I mean, it's really nothing to talk about. It's really nothing, it's nothing to like freak out about because it's just a little preseason fun.
Of course, and I've really struggled to like watch the preseason, and it's not my main focus. I'm still waiting for the regular season first of all, and until Bedard gets one in the regular season, it's not going to matter. But he is ready for the NHL now. I think he's going to have some struggles, you know, in his first season, and he's not, and maybe he is a little overhyped, but I'm just mainly focusing on the potential struggles up ahead, especially with this Blackhawks team, whose only other star, if you want to call him that, is really Taylor Hall in that. So I just think it's going to be more of a struggle for him up the way because, the game is about winning, hockey's more about winning games than the individual statistics as well. Um,
Right. I mean, I think he's going to have a really good rookie season. I think the Blackhawks did a really good job at getting some veteran players and some guys that can work with him and mentor him and teach him, as well as guys that can protect him. So I think he's going to have a really good a really good career, or a really good rookie season. I honestly think he'll probably finish first on the team in points. Not sure about goals. He could though. He's got a really good shot, so he could finish first in goals for the Blackhawks. But he's definitely going to be one that's going to bring in a lot of attention to the NHL this season as well as the Blackhawks. And there's always attention to the Blackhawks. They got one of the best viewing networks in the league, or one of the best viewing regions. So they're still going to get a lot of eyes on the Hawks this year, but especially a lot even more because of Bedard. And I feel like when he comes into town for people who like, there's abs like Colorado fans or Caps fans or Pittsburgh or wherever, like there are people, they're going to sell out when Chicago's in town just because everybody wants to see Bedard play.
I mean, and you go across to their rival city, St. Louis. Even in St. Louis, they'll sell out. Like no trouble there.
Yeah.
Alex Ovechkin, I did a bit of a take on Thursday, which was yesterday when for us, but it'll be this is coming out Monday to you all, lovely viewers. So I did a take, and I don't think anyone really agreed with me on this of his cup and how the Capitals won technically. I don't think they would have won in that if they had to face the Penguins with Marc-Andre Fleury, but that was more of a stupid take. Or I don't think it was. Oh my God, I think it was. I just got a little caught up. But did you get a chance to listen to the episode?
I haven't listened to that one yet, but I mean, when they played the Penguins that season, they won the cup. They did play. I mean, they beat the Pens in the second round. Marc-Andre Fleury just wasn't the starter, as he was. Like he had a couple playoff seasons in a row where Matt Murray took over the job after Fleury started. But I mean, they had him. They could have played him against the Caps, but they didn't. So I don't know if he would have made a big difference. I think that was just the Caps.
Wasn't he
Yeah.
in Vegas? Because I swore he was in Vegas as the guy. I really remember that.
You're right. Never mind. I'm getting my years
and
mixed
that
up.
was
Yeah,
the
you're right.
reason. So
Yeah, because they played Vegas in the Cup.
and the whole I guess weird draft thing of the expansion.
Yeah.
I did not like
Brain fart. My bad.
well, don't worry.
Yeah.
That never sat right with me, and I think you know, and I think the hockey writers are gonna like just say, oh no, he only won the cup because they only had 31 teams for that point, and it really doesn't count. And then the Lightning won a cup without in the era of 31, but also it was the Corona season, so it's like, does Stamkos record go down in that sense, or does Pat Maroon's record mean anything anymore? With that, it didn't really, and that sort of and that was the weird thing about that too. Yeah, so he was. Do those cups mean anything as well? But in particular, do you think his legacy is a little bit different? If the Capitals played that season in a 30 team as they did the previous one, do you think it? Yeah, do you think the Capitals would have won that 2018 Stanley Cup?
What with a 32 team league
No,
instead of 31?
no. If the NHL did not expand in the 2017-2018 season.
It's tough to say. I think they still would have. But those players that Vegas had were all players that, besides Marc-Andre Fleury was all. I mean, even actually Marc-Andre Fleury, it was all players that teams didn't want. So, or like, they probably would have kept them if there was expansion, but they had to choose someone to give up, and they chose those guys. So they wanted other players over them. So I don't know if that made a difference. It's an interesting point to bring up, I would say. Kind of curious to think of when you think about it, what would happen if Pittsburgh did have Fleury when the Caps play them in round two? What if all these other players were playing on the teams that they were on before the draft, the expansion draft? So I think they still would have won the cup. I think that year was just the Caps. Caps had it. They had the magic to go through the cup, even though people would say they didn't have the strongest team that year, but for whatever reason, it was their year. They got the bounces, they got the luck that is needed in the playoffs, and they got they just had everything going for them. So I think they would have won regardless of Vegas being a
I
team or
think the
not.
pro I think the problem with that is that Matt Murray just did not know the systems as well as Marc-Andre Fleury did. And Marc-Andre Fleury was the one that was playing with Kessel and Malkin and Stahl and Crosby. Like he knew them inside, he knew the plays inside and out and all that stuff. And and he was just better prepared. He was always better prepared. And Ovechkin was not, apparently Marc-Andre Fleury was one goaltender that was essentially a brick wall when it came to facing him. So, or like he knew how to just stop him, and he really was, and I really think he was the difference maker. And maybe the Penguins would have won that third cup, and they're looked at in the same way as the Golden State Warriors. But that is all in a hypothetical scenario. Um,
Yeah, but they did face him in the Cup Finals when Marc-Andre Fleury just started for Vegas.
Good point. Good point. But Vegas didn't have the system that Pittsburgh did, so
That's
if it
true.
doesn't
They
if it
definitely
doesn't
are.
come together, you don't win.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Connor McDavid. Can you believe he is coming close to 1,000 points, and yet Phil Kessel is at like 992 points, and the only reason he's not at 1,000 points is because um I'm not sure. He wasn't as, I guess he's not playing as well, and he was more focused on the Iron Man streak than actually resting and being ready to go and score goals and points. But
Mm-hmm.
but I think like you compare the two, and McDavid has been soaring up there, and in a 150-point season last year, and and potentially he could get another 150-point season, and he gets 1,000 points now, and he passes Phil Kessel too, which would be even crazier. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
your nickname. Um, so couple things. McDavid getting 150 points or 154, 55 points. Do you see that
This season coming up.
this season coming up? Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I could see it happening. I can't remember what did he get last year? Would he got like
53.
135 or something? One.
153. It was over 100.
Okay, 153. Okay, I mean, I could see him getting even more. Um, I know they were saying it's people. I've been watching a little bit of the NHL Network. They've saying it's been a long time since anyone surpassed 150, and he did it. And now, like the next milestone is 160 or whatever. I don't see why he can't. He continues to get better every year. People were saying for a while that he's not going to be a scorer, and then he comes out and scores, I don't know, 50 some goals or something like that, or maybe he even had 60. I can't remember how close he was to Matthews, but he's a scorer. So, and I think the Edmonton Oilers got better this season or throughout the offseason. So they're going to be better than they were last season, I feel. So I don't see why he can't just keep on climbing those point totals because he's just that good. I heard an announcer say that, or a commentator say recently on a video I watched that he's just a highlight reel, and you see highlights every game from him. So he's just that good. So I don't see why he can't get 160 points this next season.
Of course. I think the Oilers have a good chance of winning the Stanley Cup, but at the same time, apparently the Bettman curse has been on, and I kind of had the Oilers in the second round beating the Vegas Golden Knights. I was like waffling back and forth initially, and then I thought, you know what, if I'll expect nothing less from McDavid to pounce on Matt Stone and Aiden Hill, apparently, and famous backup goaltender Jonathan Quick. Like I was expecting the the um the Oilers to take that, and they never did, and it is a bit of at this point, Gretzky had a couple cups in his career, and now McDavid's got nothing out of um the 6 years I believe he's been in the league. Uh I and it's
I
hard to
think it's
live
been
up to
longer.
what
I think it's been 9 years.
I, 8 9 years, right? I
Yeah.
think the one thing with this is that it's still just will he be able to hoist Lord Stanley in the era of 32 teams? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure. And he may want to go south of the border. He could go to Boston. Boston's a good option, or Colorado, or potentially he could. I wouldn't send him to Pittsburgh um at that point, but there is and Detroit's close to breaking it through into the playoffs at least. He could go to New Jersey, or he could go to Sunrise. I think he should. Hey, if he's on the Panthers, I'm happy there. But I think that would be even a stretch for him. But I think he could go for free agency. What do you think? At one point,
Um, I'm sorry, I blanked for a second. You're talking about McDavid?
yeah, McDavid could go
Yeah,
for free agent. I think
that's what
he
I thought.
may want to go for free agency just to get the cup.
Maybe if they don't win by the time his current contract is up, then maybe. But I I don't know if McDavid would. Because if you think about it, I think Ovechkin, he's now going to be 37 this year, so he didn't win a cup until he was 33. And everybody kept talking about how he might not win a cup, and he's like going to be like the greatest goal scorer of all time very soon. I think McDavid, whenever his contract ends, if he doesn't have a cup by then, I think he's going to sign another deal and keep extending because I don't see the Oilers trading him unless it got to the point where his contract's up and he's like, I don't want to extend, and then they trade him because it's McDavid. You're going to get something for him. But he's 26 and he's got 3 years left. They got 3 years to try to win a cup, and if they don't, but they're super close, like let's say they go to the cup final 2 out of these 3 years or at least once, but they keep on improving. I don't think he'll go. I don't think the ownership group, I don't think the coaches, the GM, I don't think they're going to want to trade Connor McDavid.
It
But,
just,
I wouldn't rule it out.
of course, it just seems like Canadian teams have gotten railroad since 2012, and and
Yeah.
you have like and Rafi Torres was like sort of bad luck for the Canucks because of a hit in Chicago, I believe in 2013, and then the Blackhawks win the cup that year, and Torres was suspended, I believe, after that. So apparently, and then the Montreal Canadiens got in 2021, but on it was more of a round robin. It was not the traditional come up, play in your conference playoffs, and beat out the team, or beat out everyone in the 3 rounds, and then you go to the finals. It was just round robin, play. Okay, you're the best. Get in there and go beat the Lightning. And the Montreal Canadiens only won um, uh, one game out of the series that time. So it's just been a very long time since a Canadian team has really been in there and gotten in a traditional way. It,
Mm-hmm.
so I I don't know what I want to see more. The Maple Leafs or the Oilers win the cup, but it I think it I'd be foolish not to bet on one of those two teams to be the next Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup final. But
Yeah.
but
No, I think you're spot on. It's probably going to be one of those two teams. Probably within a couple of years too, especially the way the Leafs are loading up their roster lately. But I could also see it being possibly someone else. I think Vancouver's got a pretty good team. Ottawa is on the coming up, and um, for some reason the Oilers or I think the Oilers are closer to getting over the hump than the Leafs, but the Leafs are always struggling to get over that second round. Or if they got over the first round, now they're going to struggle to get over the second round. But I would if we're going to cheer for a Canadian team to win the cup next, I'm rooting for McDavid.
I'm taking McDavid, Draisaitl, and that weird Evander Candy Cane guy.
Yeah,
And and then there's the backbone of all of it, Principal Skinner, Principal
right.
Jeff Skinner, not to be confused with Seymour Skinner, Simpsons joke. So we've got that, and okay, so yeah, we and I'm like looking over my notes here now. We've got Bedard. Um, the one topic that I've like really been passionate about and been worried about a little bit because of potential audience capture per game was the one statistic I was focused on, and the youth. The MLS is potentially going to come up and overtake soccer, and these were reports from the MLS themselves. So maybe there's a bit of a bias there, but I think they have a good claim at this point. Now they don't play an 82 game a season. They play once, two, three times a week, I believe. I'm not even sure of the schedule. They have 29 teams total. They apparently they don't have 30 teams. I don't know why they don't. It's more financial. But they could definitely overtake it, especially with Gen Z and there's just more young kids playing soccer and going into high school playing soccer, even if it's at a rec league. So, where do you see the NHL in the next 5 years from a financial standpoint?
The NHL. I mean, there's a lot of talk of expansion. Um, in the next coming year. So, I mean, I don't see why. I think there's the viewership. I'm not, I don't know the numbers very well, but I think the viewership has been better. There's obviously been there's some times where it's down, but I mean, in the next 5 years, I think the NHL will at least have maybe one more team added to the league for a 33rd. Possibly they might have two teams. I've heard they've been talking about two teams coming in at the same time to make 34. So I see that as a possibility within the next 5 years, depending on how much these cities that are apparently the front runners for expansion teams. It depends how much they push and how ready the league is to expand. But I mean, if they're going to expand, it's going to be good for viewership. So they're going to expand to markets where they're going to bring in more viewers. They're gonna that they need to like mostly probably out in the West, the Southwest, and the Midwest. So I mean I think the NHL is going to be just fine in the next 5 years. I think you might even see the viewership going up because there are a lot of kids these days playing. There's a lot of more kids playing hockey in the States than there was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like and 10 years ago, geez, it's been more than 10 years ago since I've been in high school. Now, I can't believe it. It's actually been. You could actually say that 10 years ago we were in college. Now,
Yeah.
technically. We were at 1,000. Wow, we are old. We are old and we've got beards and I have gray hair. But 10 years ago was a lifetime ago, and we still and and I think even 10 years ago, I can tell that the game has gotten even faster from then. And and the
Yeah.
players are different too, as well. And as well. I think that if the NHL does expand, I think um you have to put in Houston into that conversation, Quebec City, Charlotte, um, and and potentially Madison or Milwaukee should be in that conversation as well, because Wisconsin never had a professional hockey team, which makes no sense to me. There was like that was one thing that really never made sense to me was Madison not having a professional team um or Milwaukee not having a professional team, or at least to my knowledge, unless we're going back to like 1910, maybe there was one.
There's a team in Milwaukee right now.
Yeah, the Admirals, the
Yeah.
AHL team, there
Are
is,
you talking about NHL?
but I'm talking specifically about NHL. So I'm like wondering,
Gotcha.
why is it that there was no NHL or WHA team really ever? And Indianapolis even had a shot at that with
Hmm.
the WHA team as well. And Houston is probably the biggest market the NHL has left out. I think it's a shame that Bettman has not moved the Coyotes over to Houston, or even just get out of Arizona. It is a money pit in Arizona. Um, do you remember when they voted to have a toxic waste dump over an entertainment center? Not even just necessarily for the Coyotes, just but but the entertain but just to have an entertainment district. Like, can you believe it?
Yeah, no, I remember hearing about that and I thought they were going to get approved, but then I heard that all the people of I think it was Tempe, where they wanted to build this district, they said that all the money is going to be funded by the citizens like tax dollars. So they said screw that, like we're not, why would we give up all this extra tax money that you're going to take from us to build this huge facility? Like it's not worth it to them, I guess. So that kind of makes sense, but I mean, I think the Arizona Coyotes have needed to move for a long time, but they won't most likely ever because of Gary Bettman and his attachment to them, his personal attachment. So I applaud him. He's done a really good job at growing the game and expanding the league out in the West. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think the Arizona Coyotes are going to move. They're going to get their new arena somewhere, and then they're hopefully probably going to expand to a couple other cities um in the near future, probably.
Well, they can't just be playing in the same arena as the Sun Devils. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. You, I say
No, it's
just
not.
I say they should just move in with the Suns again and just see what happens there. But but even that's going to be difficult. But most people are not showing up to the games there anyway. They're they're a terrible team. They need. I say, well, if I'm the commissioner, I'm putting them in Houston, and I can do that. Or and Justin Smith up in Salt Lake City, owner of the Jazz, would be happy to have them in Salt Lake City. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and there are so many other potential markets that would take them, and Vegas just won the cup too, so all eyes on them out in the desert. So it's just I really think Bettman has made a mistake keeping them in Arizona of when the taxpayers didn't want it in Tempe, and when no one's showing up to the games and their TV viewership is down tremendously. So I think I've got to just say to Bettman, get him out of Arizona.
Yeah, I think it's definitely well overdue, but I like having the team in Arizona. I think it's good for the game to be out there. But I think it's just been a huge mess. And if they hopefully they can get their arena situation figured out by the end of the season so that there will be plans and it's already in motion to for the new arena to be built, whatever city it's in Arizona. But yeah, like I said, hopefully they get that figured out soon so they can move forward and not have to worry about this for again in their lifespan or not for a long time at least.
Um, okay. Now I got to talk about youth participation. Youth participation. There. Now I pulled up a graph um on one of the previous episodes, and there was 4.2 million registered players playing soccer. So that's not rec league or anything. And then there's only about 500,000 um, registered with USA Hockey. And I'm not sure if that was specifically youth or if it was adults, because it would make
Mm-hmm.
more sense if it was either one or the other. Um, but still, that like the numbers are low too. Out of the 330 million people in this
Yeah.
country, so or maybe that was new, but still, I think it does show that this sport is expensive and it's a little complicated too. So I'm not going to be surprised. So going back onto the MLS, I'm not going to be surprised if that happens. And if it, but the one thing that's keeping the NHL above it is the TV um, deals and the TV sponsorships. And Big Four refers to the NHL, MLB, NBA, and NFL. It doesn't. MLS you know is the fifth largest of that because they don't have as many games in their schedule, and that's also why the NHL is bringing in more revenue as well than the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So and a few more tweaks, and they could certainly overtake us. So I am sorry I have to disagree with you on where the NHL will be, but maybe I'll be proven wrong, and that the NHL will just come alive, and we'll just get more fans like in hockey and all that stuff um as well. Uh okay, so I've got to ask now. Stanley Cup contenders and potential winners, who do you got?
Oh man. I let's see. I'm gonna go one team from the East and then one team from the West. I think my team in the East, everybody seems to go with them. So I don't want to go with the team that everybody goes with, which is to me it's Carolina. I think my team from the East this year, I'm gonna go with Toronto. I don't like saying Toronto, but I think they just got way too many additions and good additions this year that it makes them a serious contender for the Stanley Cup, at least for the at least winning the Eastern Conference Final, making it to the Cup.
And what about out west?
Out west. So I know the Oilers have McDavid and everybody. Colorado's still relevant. Dallas apparently has improved, and people like them. And Vegas is the reigning Cup champs. But I really like the Los Angeles Kings. I've watched them a lot this preseason, just from them being in Australia doing the Global Series. And I think I got LA. I think it'd be LA Kings and Toronto Maple Leafs in the Cup.
I think the one thing about that is that they're not Jonathan Quick anymore. He's gone. He went to Columbus, and then he went
Yeah.
and won the cup with Vegas. So that's the other thing. I also do not see Vegas um, you know, having a repeat at all.
Mm.
If I had to choose someone out east, I might actually be pulling a wild card here, but I'm actually going to go with New Jersey if they can get Patrick Kane on the um Devils. If they can get Patrick Kane onto the Devils and play with Luke, the Super Hughes brothers, and Mackenzie Blackwood and Timo Meyer, I think they've got a real shot at winning because I think Kane was great against the Devils for the most part. I mean, maybe the numbers don't exactly show it, but his play style certainly did if you were watching the games. But I think he's a piece that New Jersey can get, and they can bring home another cup to
Yeah.
the armpit of America.
Yeah, I think my only concern with the LA Kings is their goaltending. Um and that's why I like them a lot. I like their defense, like their offense. Their goaltending I think is good. I don't know if it's cup winning good with Talbot and Copley, but I do like them a lot. So I think it'd be really cool. I'm gonna go with some outsiders that people may not choose. I'm gonna go Toronto and LA, but I do like the Devils. I like your point. The Devils are very good. I like Edmonton still. I like Seattle a lot too. I think Seattle is going to give a good run again this year.
Seattle's definitely going to give a good run. They're just too young. We're not in the era of 31 anymore, so we're not going to see that again that quickly, at least. But in
Mm-hmm.
6 years, Vegas did something that a majority of team like it took the St. Louis Blues 40 plus years to get a cup. It took the Sharks don't have one. The Ducks, um, it actually took more like 14 years for them to get it there as
Mm-hmm.
well. And if you want to count the the Dallas Stars as the North Stars, it still took them 30 years to get that cup there,
Yeah.
and the Blackhawks went 49 years without a Stanley Cup, and the Bruins almost went 50. I'm sorry, they almost went 40 years themselves too. So I think they'll get it. They could get it in 6 years, and I would not be surprised. For my Western pick, I've got it. It is going to be really tough. I think McKinnon is still good. He's great. He deserved his cup. Hunter Miska is out in Berlin, I believe. He is not a part of the NHL anymore. So goodbye, Hunter. Which is why I think that you're going to see either the Stars or the Oilers in on the West. I can't decide. I like Tyler Seguin. I like Jason Robertson a lot. But I think the Oilers can do it. They can get past LA. They've done it already. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another reason. And that's one thing I disagree with you on is that the Oilers know how to take care of LA. And but the
Yeah.
only thing was those Golden Knights too. And I'm not sure how they will face off against the Jets or the Stars if they see each other. So I'm still not sure on that, but I think if you have like a Devils Oilers Stanley Cup, I think you're gonna be in for a great Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I agree.
Man. Okay, anything else you want to cover? Because this was a good episode for 111.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. I don't really have anything off the top of my head hockey wise.
To the people out in the alumni who have played, I am sorry I couldn't make it. I did not get the email. I was not on the list, and I could not arrange the tickets fast enough, but I will be there hopefully next time. And I miss you all out at Towson. So I guess those are going to be the words there. And I guess we'll talk in a moment about that. But for everyone that is watching or listening on podcasts, please go over to Substack, rothsteina.substack.com. The link is in the show notes or description. Click on it. Just sign up with your email for free. I post free articles, and if you do ever want to become a paid member, you can always upgrade for $6 a month or $60 out of the year. So there's that. And if you want to support me in another way, check out Growing Hockey. That's available on Spotify. You can purchase that for, I believe, $7, or they might have done their own deal and it's $4.99 now, but you can check it out there or wherever you get your audiobooks. And with that being said, everyone, take care.